Welcome to the Seize the Day weekly podcast, your connection to all things cruising, powered by Travel with Brigetta.
Welcome to the Seize the Day podcast, brought to you, powered by Travel with Brigetta. I'm Julie Williams, and along with me, of course, my co-host, Karla Mesa. And today we have a very, very special guest, the owner of Travel with Brigetta, Dan Koehler. Now, let me set this up for you, okay? A few weeks ago, Karla and I were talking about solo cruising, right? And we had a lot of numbers from other people, a lot of statistics, a lot of research, but neither of us has ever actually gone on a cruise all by ourselves where we don't know anybody, right? Dan has done that time and time again. So today we're going to ask Dan a little bit about his experience, maybe the fears that he had before he went and how he handled it and what the ultimate outcome was in cruising alone. Dan, first of all, welcome to the Seize the Day podcast. It's always an honor to have you on. So tell us, when you went to go on your first solo cruise, were you, I know you're not as social a person as I am, but were you like just a little bit nervous or a little bit, wondering if you'd be lonely there or how it would go?
I would say a little bit nervous, maybe. You definitely have that question of, what am I going to do with not knowing anyone? Getting into it, there's always something to do on the ship. There's always people to meet. If you want to be social, sit down. If you sit down, someone's going to be near you and you can talk to them. If you don't want to be social, don't. You can go and do your own thing. There's plenty of isolated areas that you can find as well. Even hanging out in your cabin. Sometimes during the day, it's nice to just sit on the balcony and listen to the ocean go by, or go up to one of the top decks. Typically, the uppermost tanning deck is going to be a more serene and not solitary, but a more respectful, quiet zone. Whereas down by the pool deck, you're going to have the more social people sunbathing and things. So lots of opportunities there, lots of restaurants. During the day, a lot of the bars don't have a lot of activities. So you can sit down and read a book. A lot of ships even have libraries and card rooms, little game rooms with board games and cards and all kinds of stuff.
So if you were in the mood to be social, what would you do? Where would you go? Like to trivia or just sit anywhere? Or, it seems like trivia would be a place where people are just maybe automatically going to be connecting.
The trivia events are a good one. There's a lot of game shows throughout the day, and different cruise lines have different licensed game shows that they can do, and that's exciting. A lot of the times out on the Lido deck, there's some kind of activities from dance contests to sometimes in Alaska cruises, they'll do the lumberjack show where they'll come out and, do ice sculptures with chainsaws and stuff. And that's a cool, fun place to just be with a bunch of people and watch something exciting. I do find that just go out on deck. There's people just sitting and talking all the time, depending on the type of ship. If you're in the Oasis class, like with Royal Caribbean, for example, it's the Central Park areas. Really nice, great place to sit. You're in a park with living beings and trees, and there's benches all around and some soft music going. There's a lot of music performances in there, solo performers like piano and violin and stuff like that down in that area. So that's a really nice, serene place to sit and meet people. The casino is another place where you can just go and sit down on a slot machine next to someone and make a friend, or, join the poker table.
I have a story I can tell you about your father when he went on his first cruise, which was his honeymoon. He met a lot of people when he won the sexiest buns contest.
Oh,
wow.
Maybe you should try that next time, Dan.
No.
Not quite for you, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. I bet he was recognized throughout the ship after that.
Yeah, and apparently it was a really small ship. I think only like 300 people on it. which
Oh, wow.
I've never heard of. It was a cruise line called Dolphin, and I've never heard of a cruise line, a cruise ship that small before. But he got to know a whole lot of people because he did things like the Sexy Buns contest. So that's always an inspiration.
Yeah, I'm sure it helps to put yourself out there, get involved if that's what you want to do. Dan, I'm curious, you mentioned specifically on Royal Caribbean, what other cruise lines have you cruised solo?
So I've done solo on Royal, Celebrity, Princess, Norwegian, and Carnival,
Okay.
all of which in the last couple years. And it's been an interesting experience. There's positives and negatives to every cruise line. And if I had to, from those 5, pick my favorite ship, it would probably be the Celebrity Beyond. I was on her a couple months after she launched. Gorgeous ship, excellent, service, excellent amenities, a great price point. And one of the things that I really liked about the Beyond was their main dining rooms are actually 4 different restaurants. So you're not I have to go to this main dining room at this time and everything's the same. If you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go check out the French restaurant, you can do that. They have themes for their different restaurants. So there's your main menu that's stable across all of them. And then each themed restaurant has 1 or 2 specific entrees and appetizers and menu items that's that restaurant specific. And it was a really cool experience to have that versus just like specialty dining options or main dining.
It sounds almost like specialty dining, with all the different themes for each one, except that you don't pay for it.
Right. It kind of is. And you just go in and you can get on the list. And if one of them's, got an hour wait, you just go to the other restaurants if you want. So I met some really, really cool people doing that. The Beyond is, of course, an Edge class ship. So you've got the Edge bar that sticks out the side and it goes up and down on the ship. So that was a lot of fun.
Magic carpet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then it's a very modern ship, great internet, great services and amenities, and that's crucial because I work every day, always, forever.
Are you saying this is like your favorite ship in general, or just as a solo traveler?
So far, of the ships that I've sailed on, that was my favorite of all the cruise ships I've been on. Celebrity has a great level of service. It is a tier 2 cruise line, so you expect a little better service.
Okay.
But it was very comfortable, very well attended. Like I said, it was a couple months old when I sailed on it, so great shape, great condition, all around an excellent experience.
You said go ahead.
I think we're going to ask the same question. You mentioned internet and working. So when you typically take these solo cruises, are they actual vacations, like time off, or are you working the whole time?
I have not had a day off since 2019, and we are mid-2025. So I am working the whole time. As a multi-business owner, there's never, ever a full day off. But working on a cruise is better than not working on a cruise. So typically when I go on these, I set up in my stateroom in the desk or wherever I can. I've even got a couple of extra monitors that clamp onto my laptop. So when I travel, I have a triple monitor setup so I can be productive and kind of keep up with business needs. And nowadays that Starlink is very prevalent. Almost all mainstream cruise ships have Starlink deployed nowadays. You can get effective connectivity. So if I need to remote into a client server or do video conferences or Wi-Fi calling, pick up your phone, and as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi and have Wi-Fi calling enabled, I can make a call to any of my contacts and receive calls and texts. And I know a lot of people go on cruises disconnect. I don't. I have to stay connected. I have to make sure that payroll is run and the employees are taken care of, and everything along the way. So Starlink has been a game changer in rural and mobile internet to be able to perform these types of tasks. And it's gotten to a point where now I think one of the big upticks in cruising is a direct result of that, because in the past, families that wanted to go on cruises had to wait until, mom or dad could get a coordinated week or week and a half off of work. Well, now they don't even have to do that. It's totally okay that someone can sit and do an 8 or 10 or 12-hour shift in the cruise cabin, still have dinner with the family, still enjoy the pool. When I'm working, because oftentimes I kind of can set my own schedule, I will, in the middle of the day, get up and take a lap around the ship, go to the buffet for lunch, or, walk out and sit on the bow for, 10 or 15 minutes and get some of the fresh air and then head back. So it really is a awesome experience. I'd love to live on a cruise ship full time someday.
Do you ever find that you have to stop working because it gets so noisy to the point of distraction? Because cruise ships, sometimes you can hear people in the hallway, in the cabin next to you.
No, I haven't had that issue. A lot of the times it depends on what you're doing. I wouldn't take a conference call out at the pool deck, but I have gone out to the pool deck with my laptop and done client invoicing, or, email response and stuff. But in the cabins, for the most part, it's pretty quiet. Sometimes you'll hear someone, running down the halls. Nowadays, especially with the more modern ships, you don't usually hear a lot of noise from your neighbors unless they are deliberately being disruptive, or they're just kind of rude people. Typically, some cruise lines, you'll have a lot more of that than others. A lot of cruise lines have banned things like Bluetooth speakers to try and make an effort to make things more comfortable for all the passengers. But I haven't had noise issues.
That's good. You brought up a good point that I was going to ask. If you feel like you always have to be in your stateroom to work, because yeah, exactly. Like, if I'm not taking a call, I wouldn't mind being on my laptop, maybe at like a cafe, or maybe not so close to the pool deck, but just still wanting to be part of the ambiance.
Yeah, I've taken my laptop out to one of the upper decks that kind of overlooks the pool deck, and just sat there at a bar. I think, I'm trying to remember which ship it was. It might have been the Regal Princess. But there was a top deck, and there was just a bar with bar stools that overlooked it. And the bar was, 40 feet behind me. And I just sat there on my laptop, cranking stuff away. And it was fine. I think I've done 11 cruises in the last 3 years.
Wow.
11 or 12. And all but one of them were solo. So,
do you work on shore days when you're working on board?
I work every day, but if I'm going to port, I try to structure it to where I don't have to do as much that day. I like to be able to go in and experience the port and do some kind of excursion. If I'm in Roatan, I love to go hang out with the monkeys. That's my favorite, type of excursion there. Costa Maya is an excellent port as well, because you can just walk off and you don't have to leave the port ever. You've got 3 pools, you've got the Gary shopping, restaurants, swimming with the dolphins, the massage, or the Mayan healing experience, like all kinds of stuff. Really exciting to do right there in port, when you step off the ship. So that's another great one where I can take 3 hours and just wander around. I've been there so many times. I've got a handful of friends there, so, vendors that know me, and sometimes, depending on the day, they'll, hand me a free cigar or something. And I dress pretty vibrant like this, so I'm recognizable. But no, it's a great experience. So there was one time on the Celebrity Eclipse out of Los Angeles, and we did Cabo. And oftentimes ships will overnight in Cabo. It's a tender port, so they'll drop anchor, they'll stick out there, and 24/7 just run the ships back and forth to get people to landed back. Well, I, pulled into Cabo, and I was expecting to go on and explore and walk around a bit, and I had a client emergency. So the entire first day and deep into the night, I was working on a client's server infrastructure for a a data center operation, and we were doing intensive stuff. I had to find a local resource, dispatch them out there, and it was a lot of intensive work. Ship had Starlink. Even the Celebrity Eclipse, which is a much older cruise ship, had Starlink, and I was able to work flawlessly. And it was a game changer and got things sorted. And I went into Cabo the second day. I walked around and I think had lunch and visited a bunch of the shops and just kind of enjoyed the town. But I didn't get to, or I planned not to do any extensive excursions. It was my first time in Cabo, so I wanted to, see the place, see the people.
Take it a little slower, explore for your first time.
Since you tend to make a lot of friends where you go, do you find as a travel agency owner that, you own a travel agency that specializes in cruises and you're going on cruises. Do you find it a good place to find prospects, people who will want to cruise with Travel with Brigetta in the future?
It can be. There are guidelines around travel agents on cruises. They can't really market themselves on it. But if you're having a conversation, you're just talking about what you do, that's different. I can't go around the pool deck handing out business cards and say, hey, book with me on your next one. And I wouldn't want to. That's kind of, I'm oftentimes in Facebook community groups, giving people free advice. And I don't even mention that I'm an agency owner. We have phenomenal partners with Emma Cruises and the Midships and Cruise Mummy and Cruise Shop Save. I mean, we've got some very powerful influencer partners who trust us. And as a result, our team has, plenty of clients to service. Now, we always have more bandwidth for more. I keep the team very well stacked so that clients don't have to wait. But I am not the kind of travel agent who's going to post every 10 minutes on their Facebook of, ooh, come by for me, come do this. People know when they need services, they know where to get me and how to find me. And, we've got Karla as one of our staff agents. We have 3 other dedicated booking agents and 2 members of the admin team to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks, and a number of independent contractor agents as well. So on that note, if you're passionate about travel and you think that it would be a viable career or side gig or something like that, we're always happy to talk with people about independent partnerships as well.
So one of the things that I think of personally when it comes to solo cruising, is it worth it? Because it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that most of the time, if I were to get a solo cabin, I'm paying for 2 people, even though there's only one.
Sometimes. So there are reduced single supplement sailings. That's why you should always, work with your travel agent, because they can sort and find those specifically. Oftentimes people think that they have done all the work and all the research, then, why bother to use a travel agent? Well, one, you've definitely missed something, because there's so much out there that you just don't know. But you claim you've done all this research and time, and now you just want to book direct. How about you shoot an email to your travel agent or a text? Hey, I want a solo cruise summer 2026. What's out there? Takes 15 seconds, and you're going to end up getting a response with, hey, here's your best options. They'll know what your personality is, what kind of ships you're looking for, what you want your experience to be, and they'll find the right options for that. So I typically do try to find reduced single supplement. I don't want to pay more, even as an industry expert. I don't want to pay more. So I look for reduced single supplements. That Eclipse, Celebrity Eclipse cruise that I told you about that did Cabo, I want to say the single supplement was 10%. So I'm not paying for double. I'm paying for me plus 10% to go.
And is that in an inside cabin, or can you get like
that was a balcony? Yeah,
wow.
that was a balcony. I know it's a common misconception of you're always paying double, but the other factor is that when you go single, it's usually, if it is a full 100% single supplement, you were paying double on the fare. So you're not paying double gratuities, you're not paying double taxes and fees. So when someone's, $2,000 cabin for 2 people, they think it's going to cost $2,000 to go solo. Well, you're probably closer to, $1,650, $1,700 solo if there's no single supplement reduction because of all those added, fees that are per person, drink packages, things like that just don't apply when you're only one human.
That makes sense.
Did that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I didn't know all that. I thought pretty much I'd be stuck in an inside cabin, and that basically I was paying double everything, double internet people, double everything.
No.
So
there are some cruise lines that have dedicated solo cabins. Norwegian is probably the most popular, most famous for that. Some of the Royal Caribbean ships have them as well, but I would caution you with that. I mean, certainly look at it. Your travel agent will advise you on your specific itinerary, your specific sailing, but oftentimes these solo cabins are more than going in a regular cabin solo, because they're designed to be sold as solo cabins. But if there is a reduced single supplement, you might be able to get a regular ocean view for cheaper than a solo ocean view. And the solo cabins that are designed for that, they are extremely small.
Yes.
It's quite uncomfortable. For someone like me who brings a triple monitor setup to work, I just wouldn't. I mean, I might try one someday just to document it and say I did, but I wouldn't comfortably book myself into solo cabins for frequent transfer. Usually I'll do balconies. That's what I tend to do the most. Concierge class or some of the nicer balcony class with some perks is ideal. My last cruise, it's been quite a while, but my last cruise, I cruised solo on Harmony of the Seas, and I got the Crown Loft suite. So I had a 2-story cabin with a large balcony facing out the back of the ship, overviewing the sports deck, and I actually had 2 bathrooms in my cabin all to myself. So that was a very unique experience. I wanted to try suite class. I wanted to try this, and I'd been looking at it for quite a while, and I pulled the trigger, and it was an awesome experience.
Karla, I think I pretty much covered everything that all the questions I have. Do you have any further questions for Dan?
I was about to ask which was your favorite, but I think you just answered that. That's all basic experience.
Yeah.
Anything as we close up, Dan, anything else that you would like to add?
No, I mean, I guess everyone's experience is going to vary, and a lot of it's going to depend on what you're looking for. So have the conversation with your travel agent, ask them to get to know you and what you want. So many times travel agents say, well, I'm an expert in this cruise line. I like this, so I'm going to sell you that. Well, that's not how you serve as a customer. You find out, what does the customer want? Do they want, Virgin Voyages or MSC or, Carnival, or find out what they want. Everyone's personality is gonna vary. Sometimes they'll come to you and say, I want to go on this ship on this date, and absolutely we'll get you helped out. But oftentimes the requests we get are, tell me about cruising. I want to go on one. I've never been before. I want to try it. So there's a lot of getting to know your customer.
You've been listening to the Seize the Day podcast, powered by Travel with Brigetta. I'm Julie Williams, along with Karla Mesa, and our special guest today, Travel with Brigetta owner, Dan Koehler. We're glad that you joined us today. If you're finding this podcast valuable, please like, subscribe, and share. We would love that. And another thing is that we always want to hear your input, so be sure to leave a comment below. We'll talk to you next week, and until then, seize the day.
You've been listening to the Seize the Day podcast, powered by Travel with Brigetta. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. And as always, feel free to ask us anything in the comments section. We love to hear from you. Or email us at bookings@travelwithbrigetta.com. Till next time, seize the day.